Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're taking a trip to the heart of ancient India. We're looking at a region that didn't just casually witness history, but literally shaped it, Bihar. Now, this isn't just some dusty story about the past. It's a massive, multidimensional narrative packed with brilliant minds, sprawling empires, deep spiritual traditions, and grounding local heritage that absolutely still impacts us today. Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. We'll be hitting five main pillars: the rise of Magad, the mighty Mauryan Empire, Nalanda's role as a global knowledge hub, the traditions of Chat, and finally, local folklore and heritage.
All right, starting things off with Section 1, the rise of Magad.
So, out of the 16 great ancient kingdoms, Magad emerged as the undeniable superpower. And why? Well, they kind of hit the geographic jackpot with incredibly rich iron mines and these highly strategic water forts. But this dominance wasn't built overnight. It was more like a strategic relay race of really powerful dynasties. Bimbisara of the Haryanka dynasty kicks things off around 544 BC, laying the groundwork with some brilliant marriage alliances and conquests. Then his son, Ajatashatru, goes on the offensive, expanding the territory. Fast forward a bit, and the Shishunaga dynasty crushes their biggest rival, Avanti. And all of this? It paved the way for the mighty Nanda dynasty in 343 BC, India's very first true empire builders, who were eventually overthrown by Chandragupta Maurya in 321 BC. To really wrap your head around the kind of power Magad was flexing right before the Mauryans took over, just look at the Nanda dynasty's army. The numbers are staggering. We're talking 200,000 infantry, 20,000 cavalry, 2,000 chariots, and 3,000 war elephants. I mean, that is enough to make anyone think twice. In fact, this sheer, terrifying scale is exactly what stopped Alexander the Great's world-conquering army dead in its tracks. After fighting for a decade, Alexander's tired Greek soldiers heard rumors of this massive force waiting for them across the river, and they literally just refused to advance any further into India. Moving right along to Section 2, the mighty Mauryan Empire. So when Alexander packed up and left, he created this massive power vacuum in the northwest. Combine that with some internal unrest against the Nandas, and you've got the perfect stage for India's first pan-Indian empire, founded by Chandragupta Maurya. Now, what's really fascinating here is the intense historical debate about where Chandragupta actually came from. We're just looking impartially at what the ancient texts say, and they are all over the map. Buddhist texts claim he belonged to a noble Kshatriya clan called the Maurya of Pipalivana. On the flip side, traditional Puranas and early Greek sources suggest he had much humbler, lower caste origins, or was even abandoned as a kid and raised by a pastoral family. But honestly, whatever his true roots were, his rise to the throne is a serious testament to his extraordinary ambition. And speaking of strategic genius, a huge chunk of that credit goes to his mentor and prime minister, Chanakya. Chanakya penned the Arthashastra, which is this masterful treatise on statecraft. He formulated the Saptanga theory, basically dividing the state into 7 vital limbs: the king, the ministers, the territory, the fort, the treasury, the army, and the allies. And this brilliantly illustrates just how meticulously structured their administration was. It was a highly centralized, incredibly efficient machine running everything from taxes to foreign policy. Now, the Mauryan Empire hit its absolute peak with Chandragupta's grandson, Emperor Ashoka. But Ashoka's story? It has a massive plot twist. Early on, he fought the Kalinga War to conquer present-day Odisha, and the destruction was catastrophic. Thousands died, thousands more were maimed. Seeing this horrific bloodshed, Ashoka was deeply traumatized. Actually, he completely renounced war. He became a follower of Buddha and spent the rest of his life doing a total 180, building hospitals, planting trees, digging wells, and spreading messages of peace across his empire through his famous rock edicts. Which brings us to Section 3, Nalanda, the global knowledge hub. Let's shift gears from military and political might to an entirely different kind of supremacy: the classroom. Take a second and just process this number: 10,000. At its absolute peak, ancient Nalanda University housed over 10,000 students living on campus together. And to guide them, there were over 2,000 brilliant teachers who traveled there from all corners of Asia. The sheer scale of this intellectual gathering in the ancient world is just mind-blowing. To put that into perspective, Nobel laureate Amartya Sen pointed out that by the time Europe established its very first university, Nalanda had already been up and running for 600 years.
It thrived as a beacon of learning for over 7 centuries. And the students weren't just studying religion or philosophy. The curriculum was incredibly vast. We're talking science, mathematics, the arts. All of this was supported by a legendary massive library complex known as Dharmagunj.
Sadly, the ancient university was eventually destroyed, facing nearly 1,000 years of silence. But there is a silver lining. A visionary global effort actually brought it back to life. Initiated by the former president of India, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, and backed by 16 different countries, the new Nalanda University opened its doors in 2010. Situated on a sprawling 500-acre campus near the ancient ruins in Rajgir, it has a very specific, modern mission, promoting deep harmony between human beings and nature. It's all about bridging that local ancient wisdom with our global modern challenges.
Moving into Section 4, the traditions of Chauf.
Transitioning from the academic world to the everyday soul of the people. So the crucial point here is that Chhat Puja is not about idol worship in some grand temple. It's an ancient, incredibly rigorous festival dedicated directly to the natural sources of energy that keep us alive, specifically the sun god and the mother goddess, Chathi Maya. It's a time for people to express their deep gratitude for life and energy. And what's really beautiful is that because the rituals require standing in rivers or lakes, the festival naturally emphasizes the absolute necessity of keeping our water bodies clean. It's a deeply emotional, highly structured 4-day observance. It kicks off with Nahai, where the focus is on cleaning the house and personal purification, usually by eating a simple traditional meal like lauki pat. Day 2 is Karna, which involves a really strict fast from sunrise to sunset. Day 3 is just visually stunning. It's the Sandhya Arghya, where dodis stand in the water at sunset offering prayers and fruits to the setting sun. Finally, the whole thing wraps up with Usha Arghya, a hopeful prayer to the rising sun, asking for peace and prosperity before they finally break their fast.
And finally, Section 5, local folklore and heritage.
You know, beyond the grand empires and the epic spiritual festivals, the true character of a region really lives in its stories. I've got to share this funny little local folktale with you. So, there's this farmer named Chaju, and he finds out his cabbages are being eaten at night. He stays up to catch the thief and discovers a heavenly flying elephant is the culprit. Chaju grabs its tail and gets flown all the way up to heaven. And what does he find in paradise? He comes back and tells everyone, and in heaven I found a huge pot of halwa. He rode the elephant back down and excitedly told the whole village. So, of course, the next night, the entire village wants in. They form this giant human chain, holding onto each other, all attached to the elephant's tail as it flies up. Right in the middle of the flight, someone eagerly yells out, "Hey Chaju, how big was the pot of halwa?" Overcome with excitement, Chaju completely forgets where he is, lets go of the elephant's tail with both hands to show them, yelling, "This big!" And, well, the entire village comes tumbling right back down to earth. As the story teaches with a smile, a little patience goes a long way, right?
And just as those stories stick around, so do the physical landmarks. We're talking about the imposing walls of the Darbhanga fort that once echoed with royal decrees, or the historical Kiel Bridge in Luxorai that has watched countless journeys over the years. Think of the massive Golgar granary in Patna, built as a beacon of hope to prevent famine, or the serene Rajgir Peace Stupa, glowing white on the hilltop, pointing the way toward global harmony.
So, what does this all mean for us today? Think about it. We've seen Ashoka completely pivot from war to peace. We've seen the Lenda rebuilt specifically to teach environmental harmony. We've seen the Chauth Festival explicitly venerating and protecting vital natural resources like the sun and our rivers. So the question is, can ancient knowledge and heritage actually solve our modern problems? When we look back at the brilliant, holistic foundations laid in this region, it certainly leaves you wondering if the key to our future is actually hiding right here in our past. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. See you next time.